Hey there everyone, I'm just going to make a little video today talking about what it was like for me to be part of an autism study, because when I was 14 years old I was asked by the Senko at my school if I'd be interested in being a part of it. So I think I was in computing class and the Senko got me and my friend out of the class and just said, there is a lady who is interested in doing a study, I think it was about the relation between autism and anxiety in autistic girls, and because we were autistic girls and this researcher was like going to schools in the area asking if they had any autistic female students who may be interested, we were part of the study. And the researcher was actually from another school. They were from like a special educational needs school specialising in mental health and social difficulties. So they already had experience with autism and stuff, but they wanted to get people from different schools in the area as well to be part of the study. Now, the study, what I remember was they gave me a sort of wristwatch, but it didn't actually have a watch on it. It was just something that I had to wear around my wrist, and I think it tracked my heart rate. It was supposed to help track like feelings of anxiety, but based on biological things going on. So I think it was like my heart rate and stuff. And broccoli, I wore it for about a week. Didn't bother me, thankfully. I actually thought it was pretty cool that I had this thing that only the other autistic girls in the school had around my wrist. And when I got the results from that, it was quite funny because my results were mostly normal, except for when there was like a thunder and lightning storm. Apparently my heart rate shot up and they were like, do you get anxious in these storms? I was like, no, I actually don't. I'm not anxious about storms. So it's really weird that my heart rate and stuff went right up when there was like a thunder and lightning storm, but that was a bit weird, but whatever. Another thing they did was an IQ test, and well, I don't think it was a fair test of intelligence because all the questions were visual pattern recognition. There was like these squares with these shapes and you have to see what comes next in the pattern. All of the questions were like that, and that was not a fair test because I have visual processing issues. My college said I had visual processing issues. And I was so confused, like with this test, I was like, there is nothing to read out loud in my head. There is nothing to process. You can't read images. So I was there like guessing the answers of the IQ test. It's not an accurate test. I have visual processing issues, and I mean like, for example, in my old work placement, there was this little game thing where you had to fit some wooden fish into the shape that they fit in, and for some reason I was 17, I couldn't even do that, and now I'm 19, I still open doors to let people in and stuff, and they're like, you haven't opened the door enough for me to get in. Or I'm outside when I cross the road, I'm like this because I can't really tell how far the car away from me. So yeah, it's not really a fair test to have like all this visual stuff saying it's testing your intelligence and give it to a kid with visual processing problems. But yes, I guessed the answers on that, and I also had to kind of rush it as well because on that day I was kind of double booked. I was also supposed to be at a rehearsal, and they said that if you don't come to the rehearsal, you can't be part of the performance. And so I was really stressing. I was like, well, my rehearsal's at the same time as this IQ test, so I had to rush through it, and I got to the rehearsal like 1 minute before it was supposed to end, and thankfully they did let me be part of the performance. So yeah, I would hate to think how I did on that test, but I think it was probably bad, but I don't think that means that I lack intelligence. I think that means that I'm not very good at processing things visually, so I don't believe it's an accurate test. We also got given these sort of questionnaire things, and your parents and you had to fill it out. It was about your autistic traits, what autistic traits you have, how anxiety affects you in your daily life and stuff. And I was told by the end of it that my results were interesting, but I never actually got my full results because I didn't actually go to the meeting where they tell you your full results. So all I got was the email saying that my results are interesting. The thing is, like, at that time, I didn't really experience any anxiety to the point where my psychiatrist was actually concerned that I had no anxiety. Like, I was very laid back and I just didn't take anything seriously because I never felt anxious. I wasn't afraid of anything, and that was a contrast from when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was very anxious, I had panic attacks and stuff, but the reason I think that I didn't feel anxiety at this time in my life is because I was on medication for OCD. It reduces anxiety, so I couldn't feel anxiety. So they didn't, well, from what I remember, they didn't actually ask about whether you were on medication for anxiety, but maybe they did and I just forgot. But like, that probably did skew my results a little bit because they were asking about how you feel currently and stuff, but I was on medication that reduced my anxiety, so I wasn't going to answer fully accurately. I wasn't going to give the same answers as people who weren't on medication. As well as this, at this point in my life, I didn't actually have that many autistic traits. I was good at communicating. I made eye contact, I made conversation, I was fine. My autism traits have changed, like, they change over time, they wax and wane. So at this point in my life, I didn't actually have that many autistic traits. So I was probably like an anomaly in the study because I didn't have many autistic traits and I had no feelings of anxiety, so can't have been the best test subject, but yeah. I feel like I was also different to most of the other autistic people involved in the study because I had severe motor and vocal tics and most people didn't. And like with the thing where they check your heart rate, that wouldn't necessarily mean that I'm anxious, it could just mean that I'm ticking a lot and moving about a lot. And for me personally, when I'm ticking a lot, it doesn't actually necessarily mean I'm anxious. It's usually that I'm hyper or excited or really, really happy about something. So I don't feel like I was the best test subject in the world for that study, but it was still good to be a part of. It was something that was really exciting to me at the time because I think it was the first ever study I'd been involved in. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I get to be studied because I'm autistic. But yeah, it was fun to be a part of, but I never actually got the full results of the study. I don't know the name of the researcher who actually did it, but maybe if I was to search the name of the school she worked at, because I do know what school she worked at, plus like autism and anxiety in girls, maybe something would come up. I'm not 100% sure. I might look into that.